talk about last week we touched the subject of something called the 37 practices of the 37 aspects of the Bodhi, 37 Bodhi aspects, sometimes sometimes translated as Bodhisattva practices. Actually, this is not an exclusively Bodhisattva practice. So it's Bodhi but not Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva practices, or exclusively Bodhisattva practices, usually means it's a Mahayana practice. But this is a practice that is common to both Mahayana and Theravada system. So it's actually 37 aspects of the Bodhi. Bodhi meaning Buddhahood or enlightenment. Bodhi is a culmination of two words. One meaning culmination or completion, and the other meaning enlightenment as well. So this refers to Bodhi, refers to the Buddhahood in a way, in a sense. Okay, so of the 37 practices of the 37 Bodhi aspects, we have covered last week. We covered what is known as the 4 close placements of the mind, or 4 mindfulness, if you like, and the which were mindfulness of the body, the feelings, the mind, and the phenomena, or the Dharma, as the mindfulness or contemplation of body, the contemplation of the actual wordings used were close placement, the close placement of the mind. So there are 4 of them. To understand simply, to simplify, we can call it mindfulness practice. So 4 mindfulness practices: mindfulness of the body, the feelings, the mind, and the Dharma, or the phenomena. As I told you before, Dharma has a lot of is highly ambiguous word. So here Dharma refers to all the phenomena. So we have covered thus so far, and we will continue from the rest of the 37 Bodhi aspects today. Now, following the 4 close placements, or the 4 mindfulness, as it is popularly known, comes what is known as the 4 perfect abandonments, or 4 proper abandonments. This follows the previous practice, which is the 4 close placements, of which the last one is the placement of the mind. The 4 proper close placement of Dharma, meaning a mindfulness of the Dharma. So first of all, we need to get hold of, we have no idea what our mind is and how our mind reacts and how our mind acts and so on and so forth. So we need something tangible, something that we can touch and feel, and something more tangible. So we use the body. Then gradually we change to something mental, something more internal, which is the feeling, but not necessarily mental. Then we went to mind, which is the mental, much more subtle and much more inconspicuous. And then we went to, once we are able to observe our mind, once we are able to be mindful of our mind, then we are able to control our own mind. We are able to take good hold of our own mind. Then we shift that to all the other phenomena, other beings, other animate beings and inanimate beings, all sentient beings, all objects out there. So once we, after we have perfected ourselves, so to speak, we shine the light outwards, And when we do that, we see all the phenomena out there, and then we also get an idea of what is to be taken and what is not to be taken. In other words, the virtuous and the non-virtuous deeds. So to simplify, the non-virtuous deeds are to be abandoned completely, and the virtuous deeds has to be taken in completely. And this is also the four abandonments actually align with the Four Noble Truths. The Four Noble Truths, of which the first two are to be abandoned and the later two are to be obtained. First two being the suffering and the causes or the source of suffering, which are to be abandoned completely. And then the later two, which is nirvana and the path leading towards nirvana, which are both to be obtained. Similarly, the four perfect abandonments of non-virtuous deeds, that has abandonment of the non-virtuous deeds. The first two relates to the abandonments of the non-virtuous deeds, and the later two deals with the procuring as well as cultivating virtuous deeds. So what we do is the negative deeds and the non-virtuous deeds which we have obtained in the past, we avoid them, we abandon them, and the negative deeds and the non-virtuous deeds that we have not yet abandoned, not yet cultivated, or not yet obtained, we try to avoid them for future. So what we have, what amount of negative deeds we have gathered so far, we abandon them. The first one. The second one is whatever negative deeds that we have not yet obtained, we try to avoid them. And the same goes with the virtuous deeds, but in the opposite direction, which is to whatever positive deeds that we have obtained, we try to we try to extend them, we try to cultivate them and extend them, expand them, and whatever positive deeds, positive actions that we have not yet obtained, we try to obtain them, we try to gather them. So these four, this step is called the four perfect abandonments. So as I said before, these four perfect abandonments align with the Four Noble Truths. The first two are to be the first two of the perfect abandonment are to be abandoned and avoided, and the later two are to be cultivated and to be obtained. So after following the four perfect abandonments, one will be able to. So the four perfect alignments actually deals with what to do, and to put it simply, it deals with what to do and what not to do. So once you are aware of what to do and what not to do, then you are more you are your ability to your ability to shine inward, your ability to your ability to let's say focus inwardly increases, because you have with your practice of abandoning, with your practice of aligning perfectly with the four abandonments. So when you do the things you should be doing, and when you do, to put it simply, when you do the things that you should be doing and not do the things you should not be doing, of course you gain more stability and peace of mind. And because of that, your mental prowess increases. And because of that, your ability to focus, your ability to concentrate, your ability to your meditational faculties also grows. So by So thus comes the second part, third part, which is the four magical legs. So this is a so literal translation of these practices called four magical legs. So the reason it's called, okay, so we will go to the reason later. So the four magical legs. The four magical legs are the legs of the, let's just call them legs. The legs of the legs of aspiration, the legs of contemplation, the legs of diligence, and the legs of analysis. So aspiration or wish, aspiration, the legs of aspiration, the legs of diligence, the legs of diligence, the legs of analysis. So these are known as the four legs of the four magical legs, or the four legs of magical power, if you like. So the reason it is called the magical leg is very simple. Once you have perfected these four legs actually, they are not really legs actually. They are actually mental faculties. But the reason they are called legs is they have a similar bearing to a leg, in the sense that the leg is like the pillar of the body. The legs carry our body. All wherever we go, our legs carry us, our feet carry us. So similarly, the four magical legs are the basis of magical power. So we have seen many stories of how people who have gained realization and siddhis, they can, let's say, they walk in the water or walk on fire, or whether we have seen it or not, we have heard a lot of stories of people who have made high realization, being able to portray a certain amount of different amount of magical feats, and in order to do that, in order to bend the law of, let's say, the law of the law of physics, and the ability to reach a place where it is scientifically impossible, as we understand, but someone just thinks of going to America, and all of it in the very instant they show up in America. So like, to being able to apparate, being able to disappear, being able to fly without wings, and so on and so forth. So these kind of magical feats, in other words, to able to bend the law, the law of gravity, in order to bend the law of physics, and so on and so forth. To be able to play with matter, first you need to be able to control your mind, and so these mental prowess, these four so-called the legs of magical power, or magical legs, are the basis of all that. So once you train yourself and perfect the four magical legs. So these are, I must repeat again, this is not an actual leg, but it is called a leg. It is actually a mental faculty. So these four legs, actually, these four magical legs, acts as the foundation or the basis of all different sorts of magical powers that you will be able to display, and that's the reason it's called the magical legs, the legs of magic. So there are four of them. The first is that of the aspirational leg. The second is diligence. The third is concentration. The fourth is analysis. So the aspirational legs of magical leg, the aspirational magical leg, is something that when you think of displaying something, when you think of engaging into that magical, engaging into that contemplative state, you'll be able to do so by merely wishing to do so, by merely aspiring to do so. Then the second one is that of the diligence. Once you put your diligence into it, once you put your efforts into it, once you not just think of going into meditation or contemplative state, but actually put efforts into once you put efforts into going into the meditative state, you'll be able to do so. And then the third one is that you don't have to, you don't even have to wish for that, but by merely, so there's a difference between thinking and wishing. The first one is aspirational, which is a wish. So, oh, I wish I can meditate. I can go into a meditative state. But more than wishing for something, by merely pondering your thoughts over something, you can do that, which is what do you call it now? The miracle, or the magical, the magical leg of aspiration, the magical leg of diligence, the magical leg of thought, and the magical leg of analysis. So by the aspirational magical leg or miraculous leg, you have to aspire for it, you have to wish for it. The second one is diligence, you have to put efforts into it. The third one is you don't have to put effort into it, you just simply ponder over the thought of going into the deep meditative state, and you can just go over it. And then the magical leg, or the miraculous leg of analysis, as it is called, the fourth one. So the analysis is actually is a reference to something called special insight. So special insight, this is also known as Shamatha. Shamatha in the Sanskrit, usually we talk about in the meditation circle. There's a talk about shamatha and the vipassana. So the special insight is vipassana, meaning this is actually shamatha is gaining mental stability, and once you gain mental stability, then you point that towards an object of meditation, and when you pinpoint that your mental prowess, all of your mental faculties towards focal object, then you'll be able to sear, S-E-A-R, sear right through all the all the illusions, all the wheels, all the curtains, and you will be able to see the truth as it is the naked truth of whatever, or naked reality, naked truth of whatever the phenomena is, without any cover up. So that special insight is also the term analysis here, the miraculous leg of analysis. The analysis is actually a reference to special insight. So the miraculous leg that is actually, let's say, powered by, somewhat produced by the special insight, is called the miraculous leg of analysis. And that of the four legs of the four magical legs, or the four legs of miraculous power, four miraculous legs, the fourth one, the miraculous leg of analysis, is what we use to gain insight into the reality of all phenomena. So, as I said before, they are called the legs of miracles and magic, because they act as the support system or the basis of all magical powers that you can display externally. But they are, you know, they are not so astonishing as the fourth one. Yeah, you can, if you are able to fly, if you are able to display fire and this kind of thing. Of course, it's such a miraculous thing, but that will not get you out of samsara at the end of the day. So nowadays people can fly without wings. Even if you do not do meditation, you can still fly without wings. You can get into an aeroplane and you can still fly. So the point is, all the most of the magical powers that we can learn and display will not free us from samsara. But the fourth one, the magical leg, or the miraculous leg of insight, or magical leg of analysis, will help us to see the reality of all phenomena on a first-hand basis, and that will actually free us from samsara. Okay. Following this is what is known as the five powers, or five faculties. So there is something called five powers and five forces within the 37 aspects of the body. The power and force in the Tibetan word used was wangbo and top. Wangbo means, direct translation of wangbo would be something similar to power, force, and top. Wangbo would be power, and the force, top will be force. So there are five power and five forces. Actually, they are both quite the same thing. The reason one is known as power and the other is known as force is so one develops power first, and then later develops the forces. So the difference between the power and the force is that with the power, one the discordant entities, or all of the, let's call it the negative instances, the negative hindrances will not, the negative instances will not be able to hinder you. So what the power does is, the negative forces will not be able to hinder you, not be able to interrupt you. What the force does is, it will be able to annihilate, it will be able to vanquish all the negative forces. So the power is something that is more like a shield. It covers you, it helps you. It's like a security system. It's like a bodyguard. So the power actually protects you from all the negative forces. The force actually vanquishes, that destroys all the negative forces. So the power and force are similar. One has the ability to protect, and the other has the ability to sort of destroy the negative forces, protect you from the negative forces, and destroy the negative forces from which all the negative instances are coming from. So these are known as the five powers and the five forces. So they are the power of diligence, power of mindfulness, power of concentration or meditation, concentrated power, and then the power of wisdom. So diligence, mindfulness, contemplation, and actually not contemplation. Actually, this is actually single-pointed contemplation. Single-pointed contemplation. Diligence, mindfulness, single-pointed contemplation, and wisdom. So, sorry, the faith. First is the faith. The faith the power of faith, the power of diligence, the power of mindfulness, the power of single-pointed contemplation, and the power of wisdom. So they're called power as long as they are protecting you from the negative influences, and they are called forces when they actually go on to destroy or vanquish the negative forces. So it's like the offense and defense sort of mechanism. So the offense mechanism is called the forces, and the defense mechanism is called power. So they have a little bit of the mechanism are a little bit different, but they actually are same faculties. So they are same faculties when they are utilized for in the offense. They are called forces. When they are utilized for defenses, they are called power. After that comes the 7 aspects of the Bodhi. So here it's also translated as Bodhisattva. It's not Bodhisattva because it's Bodhi, not Bodhisattva. Because Bodhisattva makes it look exclusive to the Mahayana practice, because this is a common practice, so it's not a Bodhisattva. So the 7 secondary virtues of the Bodhisattva, it's translated. So this is wrong. It's called Bodhi, not Bodhisattva. The 7 secondary virtues, or the 7 branches of the Bodhi, this is called. So they are known as the. So we covered the five powers and the 5 forces, and after that comes the 7 branches of the Bodhi, or the 7 secondary virtues of the Bodhi. Bodhi meaning Buddhahood here. So that is the perfect mindfulness. So they all has the prefix perfect with it. So the perfect mindfulness, perfect wisdom, perfect effort, or perfect diligence. Actually, diligence is a much better translation, I think. Perfect diligence, perfect joy, and perfect suppleness, or sometimes it's called pliancy, P-L-I-A-N-C-Y, pliancy. So you can call it suppleness, but the proper translation would be pliancy. So this deals with being able to comply with whatever meditative mental state or meditative posture that you are in. So being able to comply with that. So pliancy or suppleness of the body, and then the perfect concentration of the body, or single-pointed contemplation of the body, and then the perfect equanimity of the body. So these are known as the 7 bodhis, the 7 branches of the bodhis. So after perfecting the 5 powers and the 5 forces, one is able to delve into the perfect mindfulness, perfect wisdom, perfect diligence, perfect joy, and so on and so forth of the Bodhi. So the reason this is called the translation here says secondary virtues, but actually the Tibetan word is Changjubyenla, so which means the branches of the Bodhi. So if you have the Bodhi tree, and then the branch, you have the Bodhi tree, and the branches are part of the Bodhi. So what it actually says about what it actually means is that by practicing these, the 7 branches of the Bodhi are part of the Bodhi. So Bodhi, you have to understand as the Buddhahood here. Bodhi means culmination and enlightenment. Okay, so Bodhi has 2 connotation. Has 2 words in there, Bo and Di. So it actually applies to. It refers to culmination, which means completion, right, and enlightenment. Completion of all the stages, and enlightenment in the sense that it is enlightened. It is full of luminosity. Is able to see everything. Is because there is no longer any hindrances, no longer any wheels that covers up. So that is Bodhi. So the 7, by practicing the 7 the 7 branches of the Bodhi are just like a branch is part of the tree. The seven branches of the Bodhi are part of the Buddhahood, the Bodhi, in the sense that by practicing by practicing these, you will be able to replicate the actual feats of the Buddha. You will be able to even though you are not a Buddha yet, by practicing the 7 branches of the Buddha, you are actually replicating the actions or the feats of the Buddha. So therefore, it is called the 7 branches of the Bodhi, not Bodhisattva, Bodhi. This is not an exclusive Mahayana practice. It's a common practice, so that's why it's called 37, the 7 practices, 7 branches of the Bodhi. 7 branches of the Bodhi. Okay, so this actually, okay, then we have the 8 noble paths. 8 noble paths, which is again, so the 7 branches of the Bodhi and some of the other practices which have not been popularized, but it is actually a common practice. But as you know, the 4 noble, the 4 mindfulness practices and the 8 noble paths are very popular all over the world. And so last of the 37 aspects of the Bodhi, we have the 8 noble paths, which is the right view, right thought, right speech, right effort, livelihood, mindfulness, concentration, and action. So right view is right mentality. So having the right mentality. Then right thought is having right thoughts that are fueled by right motivation. And right speech is something, a speech that is actually fueled by. So when you have the right view or the right mentality, if you keep the right mentality, if you uphold the right mentality, which is right view, then it will help you to cultivate right thoughts. And with right thoughts, we will be. A thought is it's an effort. It's a mentality that has been fueled by effort. You contemplate. When you are thinking of something, you are contemplating on something. So right thought actually fuels right speech. With right thought can come right speech. And with right speech, when you say something right, you actually follow it up with the right action. Because if what you say and what you do not match up, then it is not going to be okay. Because many times, most of the time in the world, what happens? The problem is we say something and we do something else. We do something else, and we say something in the right and we do something in the left, and that's where the problem comes. But if you upkeep the right speech, which is actually fueled by right thought and right view or right mentality, then of course you will be able to keep up with right actions. And so in order to keep right action, you have to put right effort or right diligence, proper diligence. Let's call all of them proper. So you have to put proper effort or proper diligence. And with proper diligence with proper diligence and with proper action. In order to have a proper action, one needs to have a proper livelihood. If your livelihood is going astray, if your livelihood is going wayward, if your livelihood, the way you live your life is going to the wrong direction, then it will be very difficult for you to keep with the right action. So it's important to have a right livelihood. And once you have right livelihood, then it will be much easier for you to keep a right or proper mindfulness. And with proper mindfulness, when you are mindful of all your actions and all your thoughts, of course, it will be much, much easier for you to keep proper concentration or right concentration. And with that, of course, come right action. This completes the 37 aspects of the Bodhi. Okay, so I stop here for today's teaching because it's quite quite technical, lots of technicalities here. So if you have questions, you can put it up, or we can discuss something else.
We do not have any questions today, Rinpoche.
Repeat that, please.
We don't have any questions today, Rinpoche.
Oh,
We practice
okay.
emptiness. It's today is so empty.
Okay. Okay, no questions. That's good. We used to say in the class when we were in class, when we were the students in the monastery, we say when you have no questions, when you have no doubt, it can either be very good or very bad. Very good because you have learned everything and you have no doubt at all. Very bad because you're not paying attention. So our teachers always encourages us to be doubtful, be curious. Always encourage us to be curious. So they say if you have no doubt or no questions at all, it means either you have become the Buddha, enlightened, and have no questions at all, or you haven't paid attention. Just pulling your legs. I'm just joking. Today's the 37 aspects of the body. It's quite technical. It's quite technical, and so yeah, it's okay if you have no questions. Let's just finish the first point of the. Okay, it's too technical. I think maybe leave it for next week. So, anything to discuss, or if you don't have anything to discuss, we can have a earlier conclusion. We can stop here today.
Thì nói rằng
so even though the 37 aspects of the body is a common practice, as I said before, it is only the first and the last one has been popularized all over the world. The 4 mindfulness practice, which is very popular, and the 8 noble eightfold path is also very popular all over the world, because this is more practical. It's more related to our day-to-day life, and so we can utilize them in our day-to-day life, and we can derive benefit from it. But the others, like the miraculous leg, the magical legs, and so on and so forth, are a bit technical. And also, if you are going to live a life, if you are, most of us are struggling in our day-to-day life, our samsaric life, and for that, to have a better samsaric life, most of the other practices does not help that much. But the first and the last one, the Noble Eightfold Path, and the 4 mindfulness practices, they do help us with leading a samsaric life as well. So therefore, that is why it's very popular here. Then we can go to right contemplation now. Right meditation.
I have one question.
Yes.
I have one question, Rinpoche. I was just curious when you said that some people can actually bend or can teleport, but that doesn't help them to gain enlightenment or to become a
Get
Buddha.
Out of samsara.
Right. Yeah. So does it require some, in order to get out of samsara, does it require to have that ability or not?
It's a byproduct. It's a byproduct. It's not a requirement. It just comes. It's like a buy one get two. Buy two get one thing.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So
if you travel by air to, like, if you travel by air on a like 10 hour journey, they will give you refreshments and food and everything, which is like a byproduct. You didn't ask for that, but it comes. You actually asked for a plane ticket from point A to point B, but with that comes the seat, the food and everything. So similarly, when you are working on the four miraculous legs, of course your goal, as a Buddhist Dharma practitioner, your goal is to escape from samsara. When you train into those things, the ability to bend the laws of motion and laws of gravity and so on and so forth, they come as a byproduct. It's not something that you are aspiring for, but it comes as a byproduct. It comes as a byproduct in the sense that it helps you to help others. So being able to light up fire and this kind of thing, of course, this will not get you out of samsara. You can light up a fire with a matchstick and lighter and so on and so forth. But just in case, there's a life to be saved and there's none of the objects are there, since you have that ability, you can use the ability to light a fire or transport to another place and so on and so forth, to like Superman or whatever, and you can just transport to the place where somebody needs help and then help people wherever it is needed. So it's like a byproduct thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Rinpoche.
Okay.
We have one question now, Rinpoche.
Okay.
Rinpoche, knowing about the abandonments but hard to do, any suggestions help, Rinpoche? Thank you.
Yeah. Very good question, very practical question. So start small and start with attainable goals. So let's say you're not able to give up something, you're not able to, abandonments. The four abandonments, there are 2 to actually abandon and 2 to actually obtain. So let's say let's go on the positive side of doing prostration. So if you are not able to do prostration, start with doing let's say 1 prostration a week, or maybe 3 prostrations a week, and gradually do every alternate days, and then you can move up to 3 prostrations a day, so on and so forth. So reciting a mantra is also similar. You're reciting mantras, not for me, I don't believe in this, I don't think reciting a mantra will help people. If you have doubt, just do 1 mantra like once a month. If you don't have to believe in it, you just do it once and see how it fares. So gradually start with something more attainable, something small, something attainable. So when you do something attainable, something small, you will be able to do it. And once you are able to perform, once you're able to complete your goal, there is you'll be able to derive a certain joyfulness from completing a goal, completing a small goal, certain goal. And with that goal, actually, that joyfulness will actually incite excitement within you to do more, and then gradually you will be able to boost your practices, whether it's in the form of abandoning negativities or in obtaining positive actions. You'll be able to boost yourself, you will be able to lift yourself up. Yes, please go on.
Yes, I think maybe it's easier for me to ask than to type. Is it okay?
Right. Much better that way, please.
In the chanting, there are 5 things in the like Minh Mê Sewe 30.
Yeah.
There are 5 lines, but I see only 4. I always
see.
wondering why.
Right.
Explain that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to translate that in Vietnamese?
Maybe Ian can help. I'm
Okay. All right.
in
Okay. Miss Huang can do that actually. Yeah. Okay. Then I will just explain it, and then Miss Huang will translate it. Yeah. Okay. So the thing is, the Mingme Tsewe, which is like a very common practice, like a core practice in the. It's a practice dedicated to Lama Tsongkhapa. And this practice can vary from 4 lines to 10 lines. And you're right, because you're right to say that you saw with the 5 lines, because actually this there's a thing called the 3 lords. The lords of wisdom, Manjushri, the lords of compassion, Generosity or Avalokiteshvara, and the lords of power or lords of secret, which is the Vajrapani. And so Lama Tsongkhapa is regarded as the emanation of the 3 lords, the lord of Manjushri, Avalokiteshvara, and Vajrapani in the human form. So because of that, we usually recite this chanting, this verse, Mixama, to dedicate it to him, dedicate towards him, recalling his many qualities and so on and so forth. So in order to do that, Mingme Tsewe Dechen Generesic, first is Generesic, Jimeke Mwangbo Jambeyang, which is Manjushri. Then the 3rd line we have Debu Maulu Jomze Samenda, which is the Vajrapani. And then Kanje Kebe Tsugen Tsongkhapa, which is Lama Tsongkhapa himself. Which means salutations to Lama Tsongkhapa. But normally in the Tibetan sort of like the grammatical grammatical structure in the Tibetan the structure of the Tibetan stanzas, verses, usually it goes with 4 lines, four lines. And to sit it better, to fit it into the normal 4-line prayers, Vajrapani is taken out, and we recite with only 4 lines. So, and another thing we put it like this is because when we do the Mingme Tsewe chanting, that chanting, right? So when we do the 5-line ones, we have to do a certain number of time to fit it properly, because when you don't do it properly, when you do not recite it a certain number of times, it mismatches with the melody. So therefore, in order to fit with all melodies, the 4-line is the most proper one. So it's very common in the monastery to do the 4-line ones. Actually, there is a 5-line one, which is the one you said. Then there is a 7-line one, 6-line one, and then there is a 8-line one, and there is a 9-line and a 10-line. Mingme Tsewe. Mingme Tsewe Dechen Generesic Timeke Mwangbo Jambeyang Debu Maulu Jomze Samyanda Kanje Kebe Tsugen Losanda Kyosum Kunjul Lama Sangela Gosum Kwebe Kone Soate Rangshin Minjin Jowa Chingil Kyosum Kunbe Shera Petu Shizosum Belodu Kesu Dechen Hengi Yeshe Chadu Sungunjan Tribe Chema Setus Senyu Tesum Chawa Chadu Choda Tumongo Setus Nyudo Kiranta Chingilo. This is like 10, I think it's more than 10. So this is like the longest version of Mixema. So there are many versions of Mixema, and there's actually a huge volume, like a 3-volume of commentaries and practices and everything related to just the 4 lines of Mixema alone. A very good question. Thank you. Okay, that's all for today, and thank you very much for your attention and your questions. Okay, now let's go to the dedication, please.